If you were to show anyone who's only seen a little bit or maybe only the first season of DanMachi what just happened in season 4 episode 20, they wouldn't believe you. This was pure horror. This was a slasher flick. I mean, the amount of carnage I never thought we would see, even though we've seen characters lose limbs, even their heads. To see the rapid succession of what happened to Ryuu's party, we have never seen something quite like this. And to have almost an entire episode dedicated to the bloodbath that was her familia going up against the Juggernaut, that was some of the most intense content I have seen this season, and honestly the past couple of seasons. This has been an incredible ride. With 2 episodes left to go of season 4, I'm sticking with my guns, what I was saying pretty early into season 4, ever since the first core began to air. This is hands down the most exciting DanMachi content for me, and I know I'm not alone feeling that, so I'm loving it. If you want to see my full uncut hype reaction to today's insane DanMachi episode, head on over to my Patreon and consider supporting. I'm not gonna lie, the first 3 minutes of this episode when it really starts going, I mean, we knew the outcome. We knew her familia didn't make it, and we knew Ryuu made it. So unlike prior episodes, where we're sweating, we're worried, is our favorite blacksmith, is our favorite swordsman going to make it? No, we know the outcome. So it was easier at first to just kind of be giddy. Yes, I'm not saying it wasn't brutal and I felt bad for our girl, but given the fact that we knew they weren't making it anyway, I kind of got a little excited. I mean, this was literally the first time this season where I can just sit back and almost relax while enjoying the craziness because I knew they weren't making it anyway. But once the Juggernaut really started getting going, it's around when there's only 3 of them left outside of Ryuu, right? We have a blind girl, one-armed girl, we got the boss still standing. That's when it was no longer fun hype, but just gory. What am I watching? Because seriously, most of these shots I can't show for obvious reasons on YouTube, but I'm going to explain it in the most safe for work fashion I can. The moment when the girl who loses her eyesight from being blinded by fiery rage, there's a moment with, I imagine it was the claw, when it just pierces, and there's a way that something gets ripped into multiple pieces. You know what I'm talking about, I just gotta be careful on YouTube. The fact that when you see that, and then you just see the rapid succession of just characters, you have Human Torch, the lady in charge here, who just in a fiery fit of rage just continues to pull through. I just wasn't expecting as much as we saw. It would have been so easy to make this creature, this almost skeleton looking dragon. Well, I'm not saying it's not fearful in the way that it's a giant beast, but honestly, on paper, you could probably explain that as a pretty simplistic, goofy looking character. The way it feels like just a walking blade where anything that touches you, it's slicing through you like your butter. It's insane, man. There's this moment where they do this charge attack where we've seen this before, the reflection of magic. We saw that when Bell was facing him. So one of them uses fire and then the other uses electricity, like a thunder spell, something like that to combine it. And then it just gets reflected back. The one gets charred like she's on the barbecue, and the other just immediately gets struck by lightning. This show was not playing this episode, and to see the horror that was their life, and I think this is what I love about DanMachi, is how quickly things can change in the dungeon. This was arguably a very talented, very powerful familia, and when you had this bastard and his party try to betray them and kill them, immediately it looked like they were on the ropes, that everything was turned, basically tables were turned, flipped on its head, and they were about to get killed for the betrayal, the sabotage, whatever you want to call it. And just because of a simple movement in the dungeon, a boss got triggered and literally turned the tables to the point that they basically got annihilated. And to see our girl cast that spell and that everything erupts, it jumps away. Did I do this for nothing? How can I even continue? And just that path of revenge, that path of determination. I already know there's going to be people saying, how the hell did that dude live from that many stab wounds? I think it's a combination of things. I mean, one, people can live from multiple stab wounds. It's not impossible. It's unlikely, but not impossible. And the fact that seemingly there was someone already there, I imagine he helped heal him, and ultimately that's how we got to that situation. But to see her build into that and just expecting to die for her revenge, but then not dying, what does she have to live for? It paints a picture of the girl we've been following since present day of DanMachi and what led her to become who she ultimately became, right? And to see her at the end of the episode, we have a few minutes of present day DanMachi content, and to see Bell, the boy balls of steel. I mean, he's new to adventuring. It has not been long since Bell first started with Hestia back in season 1. And to see what he's been through and how he's just saying like, maybe you've made mistakes, but the girl I know is literally a hero who saved me. It pulled on your heartstrings, and I mean, it's one of the reasons why you just hope she makes it, because after seeing the full picture of what happened and transpired, if anyone's deserved a second chance with the Bell harem, it's gotta be her. Hestia won't be happy, but honestly, when you see her blush like that after being so blood-soaked and just brutally beaten, I hope she makes it. It's kind of sad to think about, but seriously. So they end up finding like this just little pond, this little stream, and Bell almost immediately passes out, right? Had she not been there, he would have died in the most simplistic yet realistic way. He probably would have fell face first in that pond and then just drowned because he wouldn't have enough energy to pick himself back up. That's the state these characters are in, and I love the fact that it feels like not only does it feel so realistic because how quickly things can change in the dungeon, which yes, we've been seeing that for so long with this party, but to see it with the flashback and how quickly the tables got turned not once but twice and how few made it out alive, to look at what Bell has accomplished with just him and Ryuu, after seeing what can easily kill an entire familia, holy was this a 10 out of 10 DanMachi episode. The VAs from the screaming anguish, please don't kill me, the sound effect direction, the art design, the first like 30 seconds of this episode, you see this forest, the bark on the trees almost look like snake scales. It's so beautiful. The fire going off, like everything about it was a perfect production. And the fact that we built into this for so long over this season makes it feel so rewarding. You knew you were getting something special when the opening didn't play. You knew you were getting something special when the credits were playing with the episode. But this was hands down not only like my favorite episode of this season, I think my favorite episode period of DanMachi. People always like to say recency bias, and I always bring it up because what if someone tries to counter me with that? And maybe. I really don't care. I'm excited. I think this is 10 out of 10. I mean, I'm going to rewatch this episode probably a couple of times before we get the next episode. I'm not going to lie, because it was just such a perfect episode. There's moments that people still bring up when recommending DanMachi. You can think of like the initial Minotaur fight in season 1. People show clips of that because it gets people to want to watch it. There's so many moments that, yes, it's harder because it would spoil things, but there's so many aspects about this episode that feel like the recommending episode for me of like why I can gush about this show. It had action, it had story, it had everything, and has me so excited for the last 2 episodes of season 4. But those are just my feelings. Let me know what you're thinking about this insane episode. That is DanMachi. I never expected it to look like this, but I'm so glad we finally got to see something quite like this. Thoughts, feelings down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, be sure to ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload on the channel, and of course, as I mentioned, I do have that full live reaction to today's episode available on my Patreon, and hey, while you're there, you can also get yourself a video shoutout. So today, we have Stephanie Alala, Tran Nguyen, Zizi, Noel, Tech Knight, the James CR7, Wujan, and Frozen Zero. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.